Tonight, I will share two stories, Fox Island and The Frugal Wife. The setting is old Japan. After the stories, quiet music will continue for a while. Please relax and enjoy the peaceful night. Fox Island. Long ago, in a fishing village by the sea in Japan, there lived two fishermen named Genkichi and Shinsuke. They had been friends since childhood. Every morning before going out to fish, they would stop at a small inari shrine on the edge of the village. Beside the red torii gate stood a statue of a white fox. The villagers said, "The messenger of Inari is a white fox." Both Genkichi and Shinsuke believed the old saying, and every morning they would bow their heads and say, "May we return home safely today." Then they would head out to sea. One day, the sky was clear and the sea was calm. The wind was gentle, and it seemed like a perfect day for fishing. The two men launched their boat as usual. The nets filled with fish, and the day went well. But after noon, the wind slowly began to change. The fishermen were so focused on their work that they did not notice how far they had drifted. When they finally looked around, they realized they were much farther from shore than usual. Genkichi scanned the horizon. The familiar mountains were gone. The village was nowhere in sight. Shinsuke looked around as well. No matter where they looked, there was only sea. The two men turned their boat, trying to head home. But they could not tell which direction to go. The sun was slowly moving westward. Time passed. Then suddenly, Shinsuke pointed into the distance. "Look over there." Far across the water, an island appeared. There were trees on it. There even seemed to be houses. It looked like a village. "We may be saved." Genkichi spoke with relief. The two men began rowing toward it. They pulled the oars with all their strength. But no matter how long they rowed, the island never seemed any closer. It looked as if it remained in the same place. Genkichi felt uneasy. Shinsuke said nothing. As evening approached, the sun began to sink. The sky turned red and the sea glowed beneath it. Still, the island remained far away. The two men continued rowing. Their arms grew heavy. Their shoulders ached, but they had nothing else to rely on. After a while, the outline of the island began to waver. The island looked faint and unclear. "Is that really an island?" Genkichi murmured. Shinsuke remembered an old story he had heard as a child. Sometimes, distant scenery over the sea could look like an island. People who chased it could lose their way. That was the story. "It may be an illusion," Shinsuke said quietly. But it was too late to turn back. They no longer knew where home was. The sun finally disappeared beyond the sea. The sky changed from red to purple. Everything became quiet. Only the sound of the waves remained. The island grew fainter. It looked as though it might disappear at any moment. Then it happened. Genkichi narrowed his eyes. On the highest part of the island, he saw something white. It was not a bird. It was not a person. It was a white fox. Even in the fading light, its shape stood out clearly. The fox stood on the hill, silent, watching them. Its appearance seemed gentle, and yet there was something unsettling about it. Little by little, the island faded away. Soon, the island was disappearing from sight. It really was an illusion, Genkichi whispered. The white fox faded as well. Then both the fox and the island were gone. Nothing remained, only the quiet sea. The two men sat silently in their boat. They did not know which direction to go. They did not know where they were. Their bodies were exhausted. The strength in their arms was fading. There was only one thing they wished for: to return home. That was all. But as time passed, even that wish grew quiet. The two men let go of their oars. Then they closed their eyes. Only the sound of the waves could be heard. How much time passed, they never knew. When Genkichi opened his eyes, he saw a familiar ceiling above him. He was in his own house. Beside him, Shinsuke was lying down as well. Around them stood villagers, their faces full of concern. "He's awake," someone said. The villagers smiled with relief. Later, they learned what had happened. Before dawn, their boat had drifted ashore. The boat was not badly damaged, and both fishermen were unharmed. But no one knew how they had returned. Genkichi and Shinsuke looked at one another. They remembered the same thing. The sea at sunset, the fading island, and the white fox standing there. Was it a dream, or had it truly happened? Neither of them knew. But one thing was certain: they had survived. From that day on, the two men cared for the Inari shrine more than ever. They repaired the torii gate, they cleaned the shrine grounds, and they brought offerings throughout the year. The villagers helped as well. Before long, the small shrine became an important place for everyone in the village. Many years passed. But the two fishermen never forgot that day. And whenever they spoke to younger fishermen, they always said, "Strange things can appear on the sea. Watch the movement of the tide. Never forget where you are." And even now, before going out to sea, they quietly bow before the shrine. To this day, people say that a mysterious island sometimes appears on the sea at sunset. And somewhere on that island, a white fox is said to be standing and watching. The Frugal Wife. In a village nestled between the mountains and the sea, life followed the rhythm of the seasons. Morning mist drifted across the rice fields, and in the evenings, the scent of the ocean rode gently on the wind. The villagers depended on rice for their livelihood. In good years, laughter filled the air. In difficult years, silence lingered longer. Such was life in that place. At the center of the village stood the home of the village headman and his wife. They wore simple, worn clothing, and their house was far from grand. No one would have guessed they were among the most respected people in the village. Kind and fair, they were well liked by all. Still, there was a small rumor that often followed the headman's wife. She's a little too frugal. It was not spoken with cruelty, more like a joke that everyone knew. One July, the wife spent much of her time looking over the rice fields. The wind blew as usual, yet the rice seemed weak. The clouds moved strangely across the sky, and the rain did not come when it should have. That evening, she spoke to her husband. "This year will not be a good harvest." The village headman quietly set down his cup. "We cannot know that yet." She shook her head. "The best time to prepare is before we are certain. Even if our preparations prove unnecessary, there is no harm in being ready." Her voice was calm, yet there was no hesitation in it. The wife carried memories she rarely spoke about. A season when food had run out. Those memories still lived quietly within her. The next morning, things began to change. The salt storehouse was opened. Instructions were given to use the precious salt freely for making preserved foods. The villagers murmured among themselves, "I never knew they had stored so much salt. Why use it now?" "We don't even know if the harvest will fail." The headman answered quietly, "We use it now to protect the village." Slowly, the village began to move. Most people still did not understand why. The wife visited each household and spoke softly. "Dry fish while you can. Preserve vegetables. Store whatever food will keep through the winter." Yet some still whispered, "The headman's wife worries too much." As summer passed, the village began to look different. Sweet potato fields spread where there had once been only rice. Fish hung drying beneath the eaves. Bundles of mountain herbs swayed gently in the breeze. More fish were preserved. More firewood was gathered. Though many remained uncertain, the work continued. Then autumn arrived. The answer revealed itself quietly. The rice harvest was poor. The grains were light. The fields produced far less than expected. The villagers looked upon the harvest and fell silent. Yet the village did not collapse. Other food had already been prepared. There were sweet potatoes, grains, dried herbs, dried fish, and stacks of firewood. The meals were different from usual, but no one went hungry. And so the village entered winter. One evening, as the fire crackled in the hearth, a villager spoke softly. The headman's wife wasn't saving every coin for herself after all. She was saving for salt, saving for seed potatoes. We were wrong to call her foolishly cautious. Only the sound of the fire remained. No one said anything more. The village survived the winter. No families were lost. The following year, life felt a little easier. The habit of preparing ahead had taken root. As for the headman's wife, she never spoke proudly of what had happened. She simply continued tending her fields. The seasons continued to turn. Some years were generous, others were not. But one thing had changed in that village. The wisdom of preparation had become part of everyday life, and it remained there quietly for many years to come. And that concludes tonight's stories. Please enjoy the quiet music for sleep and relaxation.